Happy weekend, everybody. It's Invisible Walls, episode 152 on GameTrailers.com. I know last week you guys thought we were crazy when we asked somebody to burn Jeff Keighley's face onto a piece of toast. Well, we weren't that crazy because somebody did it. In fact, their special gift was sent out yesterday, so that is on the way, ye who burned the face.
I know. I've after listening to that show again last Friday, I thought that we kind of like got a little bit dangerous there because that could have been so misrepresented. Burn Jeff Keighley's face and win a prize. I mean, half the X-Play crew were following him around for a week.
It was all in fun, and we do appreciate it. If you didn't listen to the show last week, basically it was an incentive to watch the re-air of Game Trailers TV on Sunday morning, and someone did it, tweeted the picture. Kudos to them. So, got a pretty big show today. Got some big games to talk about, but more than anything, we're really going to put the 3DS through its paces today. We've had a couple units in-house now for a while, along with all the launch software. So we're going to give it all a run for its money, really give you the down low on whether you should buy that or not. Also, we're going to be talking about Crysis 2, which I know everyone's pretty excited about. And here to do that today is, as you've heard already, Marcus Beer.
Bonjour.
And that was Ryan Stevens back from the dead.
No, I think I'm undead now.
Yeah, you're a walking corpse at this point. Although, I think a couple people made some comments about on our live show when you were starting to get sick. They're like, ew, he coughed in his hand. It's like, where are you supposed to cough?
Well, you're supposed to cough it.
I actually prefer the armpit and the elbow pit.
Have you guys noticed that in the last year, people started coughing into like their elbow?
Well, that is actually the
it.
hygienic way to do it, because how many times do you bump elbows or shake elbows? Because if you cough into your hand, even if you don't wash your hands right away, the germs stay on there.
Right.
How many times do you pick stuff up or touch things or whatever, and you pass the
No,
germs
I get it.
on, so.
But if you notice, just in the last year, everyone started doing it.
It's because of Mythbusters.
Is that why?
I think
so. Did they cover that on the show?
They did a thing where they tested different ways of blocking a sneeze or a cough.
Yeah, I just wash my hands. I figure it's not a big deal.
Yeah, but you wash your hands every time you sneeze. Every single time. What happens if you're in the middle of the Gobi Desert, miles away from any sanitizer or a faucet?
Then a cold is least of my worries. Also on the show today, Daniel Bloodworth.
Yes, I'm also back from the dead.
Yeah.
And
huh?
You were dead?
When I went to that Crysis event, I was pretty dead.
That's right.
Yeah. Actually, the sickness has been swirling around here pretty good over the last couple of weeks. I've
blame
avoided
PAX
it so far.
in the East Coast.
And as you've heard, Brooks Hubert's on the show.
Hi.
There are a lot of people disappointed you weren't on the video show on 150, by the way. They wanted to see your pretty face.
There was a call out. I think
The
Ryan
beefcake.
threw that out there.
And why is Justin sitting
vegetarian.
down there right now?
Because Justin is joining us a little later.
All right, Justin Spear will be on the show in a bit, but for now, let's get to it.
Chino! Didn't make it, man. Alcatraz blast out. What happened to these people, man? Just don't touch them.
All right, first up, Crysis 2. A little bit of controversy has been swirling around the press the last couple days. I know we only received the Xbox 360 version of the game.
When we received it, yeah, but we went to the review event, the Taboo review event. And yeah, the way they set it up, they definitely were leading on 360. They had multiplayer was all on 360. And then in their kind of common area, they had one PS3 to test out for everyone that was there.
Yeah.
And then 2 PCs, one of which was running on a 3-screen setup that NVIDIA brought, and the game had never been tested on a 3-screen setup, so it really wasn't the one you wanted to go with. So really just one PC version to look at.
So what was the controversy that people were pissed off that they had to play on 360?
Well, no, the controversy was that, it wasn't even that they had to play on 360. It's that it's curious that they didn't send out the other versions of the game for people to kind of compare them to.
Yeah, we just got the PC version today, a day after launch.
Yeah. And, I mean, you go to those review events and you have a very sort of small window to get through the campaign, and that happened to me at a couple of review events where they had the PS3 version kind of sitting on one TV over in the corner, and they're like, it's there if you can check it, if you want to check it, but really you don't have enough time to really play that game enough to review the PS3 version separately.
Yeah, I spent maybe half an hour with the PS3 version, like an hour with the PC.
Yeah, I mean, that's what you do, right? You sit down for a half hour or an hour to play it and make sure that it doesn't crash or that the frame rate isn't completely atrocious, and that's usually about all the time that you have.
It's a spot check.
Pretty much.
Yeah, and because I was also juggling another review event at the same time as that review event.
From the same publisher, no less.
Yeah, and it was an hour drive away.
Yeah.
So do you think that kind of, I mean, that's been going on for years. As you know, I mean, hell, I've pulled that shit myself when I was a PR person, where it's like, all right, we know that the PS2 version or whatever is going to be the crap version. We'll put it in a corner. Do you think that actually behooves websites and outlets in general to say, all right, you've given us the 360 version, we're only going to do a review of the 360 version, and then we'll do a PC. And for example, if PC Gamer turned up to that event last week or 2 weeks ago, they should have basically said, unless you give us time on that PC, we're walking out the door.
Well, with only 2 PC rigs there, and you have that many people at an event, could they have allowed that magazine to sit there for the whole time and hog up that one machine? Probably not.
No, yeah, because everyone's coming by doing capture and stuff and testing the settings. So
I mean, it doesn't affect us as much because we tend to do one review for all the versions, but for some of our competitors who do separate reviews for each version, it definitely put a crimp in their production. So just worth mentioning, but overall not a huge deal.
No, there wasn't huge differences between them. I did feel like the PS3 version wasn't running as smoothly as the others.
And we're working on a graphics comparison right now between, in fact, it'll probably be up on the site by the time Invisible Walls goes live, but it's going to be 360 versus PS3 versus PC, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And we're in the process of that. Probably will be up Thursday, I'm guessing.
Yesterday.
In our
and there it is.
bizarre time warp.
But yeah, I mean, I think that moving it to consoles definitely kind of streamlined a lot of things. The one thing that I didn't get in the review that I thought was a little bit weird was the kind of tooltip that came up when I was playing PC. Because on the console, of course, they run out of buttons. Mm-hmm. So it's like, if you want to equip your grenade, you like double tap Y. And I go to the PC version, it's like double tap 1 to equip a grenade. I'm like, I have a whole keyboard.
Yeah.
Why do I need to double tap anything?
Now, based on your experience, which would you say the PC version is a measure better looking than the console versions?
Yeah, I mean, you're going to get a smoother performance out of it. Like, I think one of the things that we saw there was that if you drop the PC settings down to low, you can get a better performance, a higher frame rate, and still look pretty comparable to the consoles. Mm-hmm. Or you can bump it up to high and have a similar frame rate but better looking visuals. So
overall, the PC version you would say is the best looking version.
Yeah, definitely.
But does it look as good as the first Crysis on PC?
Yeah, I definitely think it's on par there. I think the whole thing is that the engine runs better. Like I know, like when I was playing through Crysis, like I would think I had all my settings fine, and then I would go into another situation like just going indoors, and they would just kill the performance. Mm-hmm. And this seemed to be a lot smoother all around. I disagree with a lot of the comments out there that it's like it's the best looking console game. I still kind of feel like...
You think people are saying it's the best looking console game ever?
It's on the box from like CPG.
What?
Yeah.
There's no way it's the best looking console game. No.
Yeah, I think just in terms especially of like the animation and stuff, like it's trumped by a few PS3 games.
It's a sharp looking game, but I can think of a bunch of PS3 games that look better than that game. I mean, I don't even know if I'd call it the best looking 360 game, in all honesty.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, maybe.
It becomes that art design versus technical merit kind of give or take.
Starts to get a little muddy. So let's talk about the game proper.
Yeah.
I've actually seen some conflicting reports on how long the game is. Some people are saying it's 8 or 9 hours. You're saying it's about 12.
Yeah, I felt it's about 12. Maybe because I was sick as a dog, it took me long. But I mean, I felt that like I generally go lowballer, and I felt that was a pretty good estimate. But everybody's going to play through the game differently. It's even though it's not as open as the first Crysis, it's still a pretty open game. So you can kind of
fiddle around,
try things different ways.
Well, like the tactical suit will tell you like different tactical points you can go to.
Yeah, it'll give you hints on those.
I played the first 90 minutes of it last night.
Yeah,
cool. It does seem like a tease with some spots. Like I know we were talking about like the destructibility is completely gone, but you'll see like these like trees that have been like felled, and you're like, I mean, for
I didn't do that.
Anyone who played the first Crysis, you had a lot of fun just playing like like machine gun lumberjack and just blowing up trees.
Yeah,
and then you go up to these trees and you're trying to do stuff, and it's like nothing really happens.
Yeah.
Those are probably the two biggest things that are I'm missing from the first Crysis is that destructibility, because there is one part where there's like these shacks and you're supposed to create a diversion by like blowing up a fuel dump or whatever. And like, okay, I just planted like some C4 on the outside of the building, on like just on the other side of the wall of this thing, and like the C4 blows up and nothing happens. Like what?
Yeah.
And like you actually have to like walk in there and like set a detonator that's inside. You know, like, okay, well, that's kind of, and it actually took me a while to figure out that's what I had to do because I kept shooting at the tanks and stuff like that. It's like,
Yeah.
what's the problem? And the other thing is vehicles. I just showed Brooks and Marcus, like, first time you jump in a vehicle, it's like, all right, I got a vehicle. You drive half a block, you have to get out.
Yeah, well, I saw in the review you got blown up after about 100 yards. So
Yeah, well, that was just the shot he picked. You know, and that was an actual like dedicated vehicle section that goes on for about half a level or so. But any other time you pick up a vehicle, it just really doesn't
I got
take
into
you
like
anywhere.
a huge vehicle too. It was like a tank or something. I only went, like you said.
It was a big APC, and that's the one thing that
150
worried
yards.
me, and we discussed this, was the vehicle physics, because that the vehicle physics struck me as very sort of like early 2000 with their design. Brooks bumped into a bunch of sandbags, and the car literally almost shot up to a 90 degrees.
It bounced a bit, yeah.
Yeah, and then another section with just general physics. He shot somebody. The guy dropped his rifle. The rifle bounced and then bounced 30 feet away. So I'm not sure. Were you playing on the 0G level?
I didn't think the rifle was that bad. I didn't.
I mean,
you
there
saw
are
it, the bloody
physics
thing
anomalies in
bounced.
every game. I mean, every once in a while the physics are just going to act wonky.
I think for me it was just that I'd only been watching for like 10 minutes and see that
He's a super soldier.
twice in
Everything
10
has to
minutes.
fly farther away just by default.
Now, one thing I would say is that, and I haven't played it yet at all, so I just want to qualify that right out of the gate, but looking at the review, it didn't look like there was a whole lot of variety in the environments. It seemed like the whole thing took place in like an urban city type setting. Is that the case, or do you get out in the jungle? I mean, would it be a Crytek game if you don't go to the jungle?
Well, the whole thing does take place in New York. So, yeah, you pretty much are in an urban setting. I was actually surprised at how much they kind of mix things up as far as, like, you have those more open tactical areas. They don't really, there's another thing that's a little bit missing, is they don't really take you into anything that's, like, super alien like the first game did. But, you have all that vertical space lets you do a lot.
Now, multiplayer, obviously a big component of this. And it's the same question we ask every time. Like, what does it do different than all these other shooters? Because really, all these games are starting to blend together into just one bleh genre.
Yeah, I know. I mean, we get criticized a lot for comparing things to Call of Duty, but the multiplayer really does feel like Call of Duty with jumping to me.
Okay.
And especially the whole structure with, like, leveling up and prestiging and all of that kind of
perks,
thing. Yeah,
kill
kill
streaks.
streaks. The kill streaks are pretty much the same. You have your radar, you have your gunship. Although they do work slightly differently because you have to actually pick up dog tags from the bodies.
Oh, interesting.
Were you
And
able to master the ground pound? Because that's one thing I couldn't do in multiplayer.
mastering, not so much. But I mean, I've
Is that an
done
instant
it.
kill if you're able to make contact with the guy?
I think it's depending on distance.
So overall, Daniel, do you think there's... Well, first of all, the campaign's pretty long. That's good,
Yeah.
especially for a shooter these days.
It's one of the things I really liked. It's like this is just keeps going. And again, like I said, mixing up that pace is good.
Multiplayer as good as the best out there?
No, I mean it's good. I mean, I think if you pick up the game, you're definitely going to want to spend some time in multiplayer. But again, it's not particularly doing anything new.
So you would say nice bonus, but not something worth buying the game just
yeah, but
for.
again, I'm around Marcus level anyways. Like, it's like I play through a single player and then I'll play multiplayer for 2 nights and then I move on to my next game. But yeah, so definitely appreciate that nice single player and all the options there.
Should people buy it?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, next we're going to talk about something that's a little peculiar. And in fact, for once, I'm kind of at a loss for my take on this. It's the fact that MotorStorm was delayed. Was it delayed all around the world for at least a little bit?
Well, it had already been released in certain areas, and they pulled it from the shelves, and they pulled back some of the marketing, but it's...
And they're saying it's because there's a track that takes place on a beach and there's a tornado on the beach, right?
That's very specific. They're talking about the underlying theme behind the game of apocalypse being what it is and what it represents, having too much in common with the natural disasters.
This is basically in response to what happened in Japan.
Right.
You're right, though. There is a beach scene in which a typhoon or a hurricane rolls through, and it's very destructive. But all the other courses break apart. There's earthquakes. There's cracks in the ground. Things just deteriorate right there in front of your eyes.
All I can say is I hope to God that this wasn't some kind of a backhanded PR tactic to get attention to the game.
I
just
I
have
don't
to
think it was.
assume that it's not the case.
I don't think it was, and having looked at it, I can understand. I mean, first of all, Sony, Japanese company, MotorStorm had already been released, but they, as you said, they pulled it. They were basically being respectful, and I have a story that is very similar to this. When 9/11 happened, I was actually in New York at the time on a Tom Clancy press tour. We were promoting Ghost Recon and a game called Rogue Spear Blackthorn. Now, the first mission on Rogue Spear Blackthorn was recapturing a hijacked jumbo jet.
Oh boy!
So obviously, that was one of the things that first the first thing that went on at Ubi's offices in San Francisco was like, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? And the game did get released, but it got pushed back, and that first mission got removed. Because sometimes you do have to look at the bigger picture, and we are very lucky that we are not in northern Japan right now with everything that's gone on. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things that it brings it home to you that just even something as fun as playing a video game, and look, there's a tornado and it's ripping everything up, or here comes a tsunami and it's going to flood the track here. 3 weeks after we saw live pictures of a tsunami coming in and washing cars off a bridge, and you're sitting there watching, thinking, holy fuck, there are people in those cars and they are dying, and we are watching this.
People die, yeah.
I mean, it actually
well,
shows...
I kind of have different feelings about this. I'm kind of like, they canceled Disaster Report 4, which is, it's a Japanese game. They made it, it's about, city being destroyed by earthquakes and you kind of survive, I don't think it's made to capitalize on it. I mean, people are murdered every day.
I'm not saying
you aren't, games shooting
murdering
a bunch
people.
of dudes.
Yeah, but
headshot, killing some dudes.
It's not there to capitalize, but it's one of those things that, and obviously Japan is
I
a
guess you
very
have to do it.
respectful,
it's a different
country in the
culture.
way
I guess
of
you have
culture.
to do it.
Yeah.
But still, actually on the Amazon pre-orders for that game shot way up immediately after the earthquake. And then
For which game?
it's totally canceled. So I mean,
Wait,
people
for
are
which
interested.
game?
Oh no, the one
Yeah,
you're talking about in
for
Japan.
Disaster Report
okay.
for Disaster Report 4. And I mean, maybe after 9/11, maybe I want to, get into that kind of scenario because I'm interested in it. I don't think
that
the
was
games
kind
are
of the touchy
necessarily
thing, right? Like they were making a bunch of games based around Afghanistan for a while.
Yeah, I
and-
mean, what's the deal with that? Yeah, you're
well,
fighting
some
the
people
war.
were like,
Those
I
people are
want to
dying
go kill
right now.
Osama bin Laden, right?
Exactly.
And
I
some
mean,
people were like, oh, but
if you're interested in it and you want to get into that, I don't.
Yeah, but I don't think.
And
you
you're
know, I don't
always
think we should be
capitalizing on-
criticizing a company for doing the respectful thing and stepping back. It's a smart.
I just think
PR
it's
move
unfortunate
just to
that
pull
that
it
has
back.
to happen. But
They haven't they haven't cancelled.
No, it's
it.
certainly not, but
It's-
what
I don't
bugs
think
me
it's,
is-
it's unfortunate. I just think it just goes to it shows respect for something that has basically taken the lives of we're looking at 15 to 17,000 people. I mean that's
Oh no, they're saying there's the death toll's gonna be like 20-something thousand.
Yeah, I mean that's it so far. And going back to what you said about 9/11, and one of the first things that happened after 9/11 was somebody modded Rogue Spear to actually put Osama in there. Mm-hmm. And I was fielding calls from like the New York Times and the LA Times were like, so what's your view on this? Your view on this? So then we had a whole legal issue and stuff. People do want to play and experience that sort of stuff, but I mean, we're not talking about a simulator like SimCity. If we were talking about SimCity, where it's like they were about to release the earthquake patch or whatever, and they pulled that back, I could see a lot of people being interested in that. MotorStorm just looks like a fun game. MotorStorm Apocalypse, it's a fun game.
Delays,
but
I think, make a lot of sense.
I think it's one of those things that, out of respect, they've done the smart thing. They're delaying it by a month?
Well, they said it's delayed indefinitely, or to a determined length of time. We don't know yet.
Yeah,
I thought that the delay was less in Europe or
no,
something.
yeah, actually they announced in the UK that it's going to reach March 31st.
And there's no date for the US yet?
US is still to be determined from what I've seen. And I went onto MotorStorm's official website, and they have like an easy disclaimer right there, and it just basically what we were talking about. They're saddened by the tragic events, and they don't want any correlation or bad press. So it's like, stay tuned, we'll let you know, we'll keep you informed, sort of thing. I mean, it just goes to show that we need to count our blessings.
Oh yeah.
And we are very blessed. But I will just go back and wrap this up so we can move on. I think Sony did the right thing. I think they've handled it in the right way. And I think anybody who's bitching and moaning that they don't have MotorStorm Apocalypse to play for another couple of weeks, they should grow the fuck up.
All right, so the time has come for us to pass our judgment on the Nintendo 3DS. We've been talking about this thing for probably way too long. We mentioned how we were blown away by it the first time we saw it. We've had it in the office now for a couple weeks. Were we crazy?
The honeymoon is over.
Is the honeymoon over?
Yeah, I mean, let's be honest. What we said before, the launch titles are pretty shitty. Street Fighter's okay, but I mean, is it something you really want to pick up?
Well, it depends on if you've been playing the console version or not. I think if you haven't played the console version, for instance, Marcus did not play the console version. He's been playing it on the 3DS, and what's your opinion of it?
I actually really like Street Fighter on the 3DS. I'm enjoying it, and I will say that this is a momentous occasion because as of today, I collect my final fanboy badge because I know people are going to be saying I'm a Nintendo fanboy after this. Last week I got my PS3 badge, so officially I can get the T-shirt that says I'm a fucking fanboy because I've got all the systems. No, I really enjoyed Street Fighter, and I'm not a big player of Street Fighter on the consoles. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I mean, the only games I've really enjoyed fighting-wise, apart from Virtua Fighter, which I loved, was Mortal Kombat, and I'm looking forward to the new MK. But for Street Fighter, it took me back to the days of playing Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo on the Super NES.
Well, let's try to keep this structured a little bit. Let's talk about the system first, the actual hardware, how it performs, all the stuff that's loaded on it, and then we'll talk about the games afterwards. So hardware-wise, what do you guys think?
Pretty rad, I think.
I think it's really freaking rad.
It's a great
Sturdy
piece of
little
kit.
machine.
Really is a great piece of kit.
I really like the analog stick. I was a little hesitant about that. I hadn't seen it at E3 like you guys. This is the first time I've actually had a chance to pick it up and play it. Really surprised by the analog stick and how intuitive it is and how well it feels in your hand.
It is a slider. It's not
It's
a
a slider,
tilting
yeah.
stick. So it's kind of like the
It's a nub.
PSP's analog nub, but it's much bigger, so your thumb will stay on it.
Yeah, and you don't
It's
slip off.
comfortable.
Nothing.
Yeah, I also found that I actually played Street Fighter with the analog nub instead of using the D-pad. I
Yeah.
found it much easier to do the move.
I love how it has a home key, a start key, and a select, which I guess the other ones had at one point, but not the home, because you don't have to turn the system off to take out a cartridge and put a new one in.
It operates like
That's
a
neat.
video game console now.
Yeah.
Because you can be playing a game and just hit the home button, and it sort of takes you back to what
Did the
would be
DSi not have that?
cross-media bar.
I never really messed around with the DSi that much, but I mean, I know it had
It
the
had
whole
the
like,
interface, but it didn't have the ability to go home,
Oh,
so to
okay.
speak.
battery life.
Battery life's pretty crap.
Yeah.
What are we looking at? 4 hours? On
I don't
full
think
charge?
it
It's
makes it to
even-
4
it
hours
doesn't even
on
hit
a
4.
charge in
Well,
3D
that might
mode.
depend on your screen brightness settings and other
And your
stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, you can
Dimensionals.
filter all that stuff, but I'm just saying default out of the box. I mean, I was just messing around with a bunch of games for a little bit here and there, and I just watched the battery completely drain.
I didn't have any major problems with the black battery, but because one of the big issues I did have is after about half an hour, 45 minutes, my eyes got tired.
Well, one
And-
thing I
Oh,
would
with the 3D
say
on?
yeah, with
Take a
3D.
break.
is
So-
Nintendo's yeah, exactly. They tell you to take a break like every 5 minutes, and I think that's to save the battery life. But I would say I think Nintendo's estimates of the battery are pretty accurate. It's probably around 3 hours you get when it's in 3D. You probably get an extra 2 hours or so if you're playing it in 2D. And it does take 3 hours to charge the frickin' thing. We got it. I plugged it in at 11, and it wasn't full of charge until 2.
That was the longest 3 hours of my life.
Yeah, we're all sitting there. We're like, but we
Could it just be done?
Well, we just when you get the system, you want to charge it to full the first time because that's supposed to make the battery life ultimately last longer. So we got it, and we're like sitting here like we want to play it, but we got to wait
Wait for the
until
blinking
it's
light.
done.
It does come with a very nifty charging cradle, though.
Not sure I understand the whole purpose behind that because
Well,
you
I
can
think
just
it's-
plug the cable into the back of the system. You don't need the cradle.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to just stack it there and forget about it.
Is it? I don't know. I
It'll
didn't
take
really
you an
see any
extra few
advantage.
seconds to fiddle with the plugs sometimes. As USBs can kind of be hard to, Why not? If you're gonna have it in your house, always charging in the same place.
Yeah.
but not
it
a
does save
big
on
part
wear
of
and
the
tear
system.
on the ports.
Yeah. Now the system itself is just really cool. Like the software that they've loaded onto it.
Oh yeah,
all the
super
little
well
functionality.
integrated. Yeah, the Street Pass is actually really cool, and you can. Yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff that you can do with it just
What I
without
like
even
is
putting a
that
game in it.
Street Pass isn't just like a feature where you collect other people's Miis and all that stuff. It's actually, there's a meta game on the system that incorporates Street Pass, and all the characters and Miis that you collect from that actually come into this meta game. And I guess the more times you pass the same person, the more powerful their Miis become in the meta game. It's just really, really cool and a great way, I think, to motivate people to use the feature.
I also have a pedometer in it too. So if you're in sleep mode, you just walk around with your DS. You'll do Street Pass just by walking around with it,
Yeah.
and you earn little coins that you can use for stuff in game.
That
I'm not
again are
actually-
brought into the metagame.
I'm not actually sure. So are they for different games, or what do you use coins for exactly?
It's for the metagame
Okay.
that's loaded into the system.
But anyway, yeah, all that stuff, it all wraps into each other. It's encouraging you to take your DS around, go around in sleep mode,
And the
communicate with other
pedometer,
players.
the pedometer, it works in the games as
seemed
well.
to
It's,
work,
it's
yeah.
incorporated, I know, in the Nintendogs and Cats.
Yeah, it's and then Face Raiders.
Face Raiders is a
yeah.
shitload of fun. I love Face Raiders.
It sounds dirty.
Once you get everyone's face in the office, like into the game, you take the picture and get them in there. It's fun just to see who pops up, who becomes like the main enemy.
I ended up taking internet photos of Miyamoto and Reggie, so they were my demise.
But I think it's awesome that you can just walk around shooting balls into people's mouth.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it sounds dirty, but
yeah,
it does.
there you go.
Literally, you get bonus points for shooting the tennis balls into their mouths.
Yeah.
But it's just a truckload of fun, and I actually showed it to my neighbor, who's she's 10 years old, and she
probably lost it.
She was having such a giggle just walking around to her house, with the camera and just showing everybody. And
Yeah, I'm still curious how long like these games are, like how much of it is novelty and how much like you can actually play it. Like I actually played all 4 levels of Face Raiders, and the 4th level I didn't beat it, but the 4th level are like final level, and it's like this took me, I don't know.
Oh, they can conceivably keep updating it with
Right.
Or come up with a better idea than Face
I
Raiders.
mean, the same thing with the AR cards. I mean, they ship with 6 cards, I think.
Yeah.
Are they going to release more, and is that already built into the firmware, or do you have to update other stuff?
I mean, I didn't even really care about that. It was kind of cool to like have that little object on my counter and like move around the object that hit all the shooting points, but it wasn't really the game itself that really blew my mind. It was just screwing with the 3D. So I sat the card on the table, and I basically put the 3DS so it was looking down directly onto the card. So basically it creates this 3D image of Mario or whatever. I start pushing the 3DS down towards the card, and literally Mario was hovering probably 8 inches off the top of my 3DS. And I could like spin the 3DS around to make sure his arms fit on the 16 side of the 16:9 screen. So you had to like kind of jigger to get his whole body up out of it. It was insane. It literally blew my freaking mind. Like, some of the games don't do a lot of the 3D out of the screen. It's more like, ooh, I feel like I can reach into it. But the system is capable of some crazy stuff, man. Like, literally, Mario is coming like 8 inches off the top of the 3DS.
Actually, one of the things with the AR cards that you unlock is like it's a graffiti mode, so you can kind of do a drawing and it'll display it in 3D, and it kind of has a shadow, so you can actually, I had a.
One
it's
thing
cool.
I'll say
You
is like the
can-
3DS it's just freaking cool. Like
is
it's
cool.
those little things that Nintendo seems to do that other publishers and console makers don't do.
Yeah,
They
the
have
system itself super impressive. Really,
they
really
just figure
cool.
out ways to make typical functionality that you may think is stupid fun.
the footage
somehow.
that we've been showing, or you've seen so far, nowhere it doesn't do the system justice. I mean, it's the Nintendo have. I know in the US they have 3DS roadshows all over the place. There's one in Santa Monica, I think, right now, and people should really just go and get a look at this, or just go into the store when it's on sale and just look and marvel at it. And I think what they're doing, Nintendo with Face Raiders and the AR cards, they are, providing a taste of, what it can do, and hopefully it's going to inspire the developers and the publishers to come forward. What I'm hoping doesn't happen is that we have a repeat of the Wii, where everything became a motion control gimmick, and we had so much shovelware on that.
Yeah. And I was at Best Buy this weekend, and they have demo units of the 3DS there now. Unfortunately, they're literally sitting at about 3 feet off the ground. So as someone who's a little over 6 foot tall, I literally had to bend in half to see it. And this leads us to the discussion of software for the system. Okay, so that brings us to the software. And I think the first thing I would say about playing most of the games for the 3DS is that there is definitely a sweet spot that you have to have yourself situated in. Are the games fun?
I'm enjoying Pilot
Street
Wings.
Fighter. We already said it's okay.
No, I think Street Fighter's awesome, man.
Street Fighter is
Uh,
above okay.
I'd-
Street Fighter is.
I'd
is
way
the-
rather,
I mean, you
I just
played the
play it and
hell
I'm
out of
like,
the console
I wish I was
versions.
playing the console version right now.
But
That's
think
all I
about
can
it. If
think.
you're someplace where you can't play it, that's a pretty freaking awesome version, dude. The character models are 100% from the console version. The backgrounds they've toned down a little bit, but dude, on a handheld, that game looks amazing.
It looks pretty good.
It's
Pretty good.
fun and it's playable. To me, it's the best of the launch titles that I've played.
Let's talk about the rest. So you said you like Pilot
I
Wings.
like Pilot Wings, and I didn't think I was going to, because at first I was like, oh, this takes place on Woohoo Island. There's not much going on. I've already been there with Wii Sports Resort. I gave it more time. I put about an hour and a half into it so far, and surprisingly, I like the hang glider the most.
And Pilot Wings,
doesn't have a motor.
It doesn't sound like an hour and a half is a lot of time to put into Pilot Wings, but it's actually very easy to pick up and play.
Yeah.
You have
That's like playing the free mode 42 times. Right?
Well, yeah, I mean,
That pissed me off.
it's a short game though. I mean,
But the
it's very
objectives are
short.
fun and they're challenging, and that's what I liked about it. I was actually being put through my paces with some of those things, especially like, it goes like tutorial, bronze, silver, gold, and by the time I reached gold and I was playing some of those missions, they introduced the fighter jet, and then you got like this squirrel suit with a rocket belt.
Yeah, I mean, I got
Well, now
gold.
I'm sold.
Most of those, I got
squirrel
gold the
suit.
first time I tried them.
Well,
Honestly,
aren't
I
you
did
just
not.
special?
No, it was just easy. I did
'Cause
not
it goes
like
full
Pilot Wings.
3D.
He's full 3D, man. He's hardcore.
Yeah.
Maybe it does help play. Think about it. Maybe that's it.
I haven't
Anyway.
enjoyed Pilot Wings since 64, so I'm glad. That's
So
my
did
launch
I.
title.
I
I'm a
love
huge
Pilot Wings on the
Pilot
Super
Wings
and
franchise
NES.
fan. I wanted it to come out for the Wii. I've been hoping for a new Pilot Wings. Now that I have it, I am not enjoying it.
But that, the
I know.
island is too damn small. I feel
It
like.
is- It
guess.
is small. It is repetitive. I'm hoping for more from them. Whether it be again, this is one of the ones that I felt should have perhaps been included on the machine as opposed to a full cartridge release. But it is
It's like Steel Diver.
trunk load of.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. A lot of these games just feel really like truncated, like short,
Yeah.
like shallow.
like the old PS2 demo disc that came with the system.
All right, who's enjoying Steel Diver? Who's playing that? I
Well,
wanna
me and
know.
Justin have been playing it. I'm curious what Justin's thinking. It's kind of one of those games that's you never really want to pay money for it, but it's got a kind of some interesting mechanics that you kind of want to master. There's a lot of mastery involved, even though it's kind of like simple to kind of get into.
But on the subject of something that's almost like an app, only nowhere near as fun, I put a couple of minutes into The Sims 3 this morning. It's about as enjoyable as The Sims.
Yeah, that's kind of what we
It's
figured.
fucking
yeah.
work. I mean, the 3D isn't really
I've
that
never
nice.
liked The Sims.
And I was having a conversation with Bloodworth, and we both come to the conclusion that Electronic Arts, when they launch games, launch titles for handhelds, they just don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Oh, they just mail it in, yeah.
Yeah.
So let's quickly run through the rest of the stuff. Star Wars, Lego Star Wars Clone Wars,
liked it. I think
hated it.
I think it's a good evolution
Lego.
of the series. Having played all the other ones, I think a lot of the stuff that they've done to sort of like bump the gameplay up. I think it's a fun, great game. Boys, boys 13, 14 will love it.
No, boys
Speaking
like...
for genders,
No, let's say boys like age 6 and 7, dude. That game is like...
You're not supposed to be playing the 3DS.
I
if
do
you're
not
under
understand why people like those games so much. I think it's just
honestly,
all about the properties that they're based on.
It's
The actual
something to do.
games
Those
themselves
are passing
garbage.
Lego Star Wars games or Lego whatever. They're like passing the times
They're
games.
garbage.
You do stuff, you're like,
Look,
oh, I
there's
got
well,
silly-
it's like you get
There's
rewarded
a
for
certain-
anything. You like you
got
shoot
some
anything in the
knobs.
background, you get
A bowl.
bolts and
That's gonna
stuff
be
like
the game
that.
you're
busy. It's
The
busy
problem with that
world.
game
Happy,
is
busy
sometimes
work.
it's just too archaic. For a game that's so simple, sometimes it's too archaic to know what you're supposed to do next.
I think
I don't
it's
see the
simple.
allure
It's
of
got
it.
a sense of humor. It's one of those games that if you like the other ones, you'll like this one.
I would agree with that, but I don't think anybody should like any of them.
Well,
And
considering
Super Monkey Ball.
Super Monkey Ball. I played the first couple levels. Again, it feels like a quick port. Turning around is kind of.
You would think the 3D would
tedious.
help with that game, does it not?
Well, I can't see the 3D.
Right.
I was just playing it straight up.
Well, are there any games that you really think benefit from the 3D? Or to me, I just like. Usually
will
I'm
say
like,
one
will this game run a
Nintendogs,
little
you
better
said.
if I turn the 3D
Nintendo, I
off?
already
And I'm
said
like, oh, there it
Nintendogs.
goes.
The other one is
Nintendo.
Madden, believe it or not.
Oh, really?
If you can
you
keep
ever
it
get it to
lined
work,
up
right?
right, you can see the 3D. I was breaking away for a touchdown, and there was a defender running up right behind me. And usually in Madden, you cannot judge how far away they are from you. So you don't know whether they're going to dive for you, and you need to do a hurdle to get out of that, or you need to spin move or whatever. In this game, as I was running down the sideline, I could tell exactly how much space was between me and the defender chasing after me.
Is it as good as Tecmo Bowl though?
No. I think we've run through pretty much the whole launch library. I'm going to ask for 2 grades from you guys. 1 for the hardware, 1 for the software. Marcus, go.
Hardware A, love it. Battery, it would be an A+ if it wasn't for the battery issues. Software, I'd say probably a B- on the launch software, simply on the strength of Pilot Wings, Super Street Fighter 3.5 Turbo Dog Edition, and Lego Star Wars. So suck it.
Ryan.
Well, personally, I'm going to give it a B. The 3D, of course, is nothing for me since I can't see 3D. So the built-in stuff is really interesting. I've only been messing around with the thing for a couple days. I'm still not sure how much you're going to mess around with it, and I'm worried about that kind of support. The software lineup, I don't know, man, maybe a D+.
Harsh.
I don't
Justin.
know. These are shallow games.
They are. Justin.
The system's amazing. So I really think it's well done. To me, the battery life not really. I can live with it. I'll play with it plugged in. I'm usually by a plug. That's not. So I thought really smartly done and really well integrated. So I don't know. If I had to give it a letter grade, I'd say A+.
Wow.
It's really
Big
really. I
score.
mean, I was it's impressive and it's cool. Although I won't buy it because the launch library is quite lacking.
Fair
I'm
enough.
tempted to give it an F just to teach him a lesson, but I mean, there's nothing there for me that tempts me to get the system. But the system itself is really cool.
So
Like
software lineup an F, system A+.
Yeah, let's give it an F. Yeah, the two
Total
extremes,
opposite. Yeah.
And Brooks.
I'm gonna give the hardware an A-. I don't know if you guys tried this. I plugged headphones into it, and the volume was all the way up, and it wasn't that loud.
I'm changing mine A-.
I'm changing mine to an F.
Because I like playing with headphones and.
No, I
Impress me.
haven't used the headphones.
It does
so.
have surround sound.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm still sticking to an A-.
Buy better headphones.
Okay, those are actually top of the line, $150, and
That's
We'll buy
not top of the line.
$200 ones then.
Yeah.
and for software, like you said, Pilot Wings, Street Fighter at the top of the list, but I'm still gonna give it a B-.
All right. I can't give the hardware an A+ because I know a year from now they're going to make a smaller one that has a battery that lasts like 20 hours.
That
So
one can be A+ too.
I'll reserve my A+ for that one. So I'm going
It's
to
like
give
97. Maybe the next one will be like 99. You're like, yeah.
I'm going to give the hardware a flat A. I think it's freaking awesome. I think it's one of those things that if you take it to a family gathering, people are going to lose their crap over it, and they're going to be like, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I think it's one of those things that's going to sell itself by word of mouth. I don't even know how much marketing money they're going to need to put into it once they get 500,000 of those things out there and it's been experienced by everyone. So I'll give the hardware an A. Software lineup, man, comparing it to other launch software lineups, it's not.
It's kind of bad.
Well, not really. Think about the PlayStation 2 launch. I mean,
You had
That
SSX.
That's true. I
didn't
didn't.
you?
yeah.
I bought. Yeah.
But I
bought
mean,
Street Fighter.
I'll give the software lineup a C- compared to the launch compared to the launch lineup software of other systems. I think it's average. I think usually launch games for most systems are like this. They're shallow. They're chopped down versions of their bigger brothers that were already released. Some of them just show off concepts so people can kind of wrap their heads around them. So I find it maybe slightly below average for the launch software. Why can I not say that today? All right, that's going to do it for episode 152 here on Game Trailers. I mentioned a while ago we were working on a brand new feature that was supposed to launch that weekend, and then it kind of got pushed. Well, that feature was Reset, which went up this past weekend. Essentially, it's a collection of editorial pieces created by the editorial staff. The first batch that you saw last weekend, it was all basically a written editorial. You're going to see some crazy stuff going through Reset in the weeks to come. Also, Marcus is going to be involved. He'll be writing a blog in a couple weeks. You're going to see blogs from people like Brandon Jones. A lot of different people who maybe you didn't rub elbows with here on GT are going to be a part of it. So make sure you check that out every Saturday morning, 6 a.m. Pacific, 9 a.m. Eastern. And like I said before, support Japan. Send whatever you can. It's really important. And that's pretty much it. We'll see you next week. Invisible Walls is up and out.